Hey all you salty sea dogs, and welcome to another video. Today we will be starting a challenge of completing different Pokemon games with only one Pokemon from the Pokédex out of the chosen game. I will be picking which game to play by spinning a wheel of all the mainline games, and also spinning a wheel of all the Pokemon in that Pokédex. For this first series, I lost the footage of me spinning the wheels, but we landed on Pokemon Gold and ironically enough, Pikachu. So the rules go as the following. Number one, I am only allowed to battle with Pikachu. So that means no other Pokemon are allowed to damage the other Pokemon trainers. Number two, I'm allowed to use HM Mules because realistically, this would be impossible without them. Pikachu does not know how to learn most of the HMs, so without them, the game's impossible to beat. Number three, I must complete every gym, Elite Four member, and champion in the game. Obviously, this is fairly obvious, but Gold is a very interesting game with the fact that it has 16 gyms instead of 8 and 2 champions. So I am making myself complete everything in the game. Number four, I cannot evolve Pikachu. I think keeping it as Pikachu throughout the entire run would make it a much more difficult challenge instead of evolving it to Raichu. I think that would make it much easier. Number five, I can only use the starter Pikachu. So I can't have a full team of Pikachus. I can only use one Pikachu throughout the entire run. If you have any ideas of how to make this challenge more challenging and fun, please leave a comment below, and I will try to implement as many of those ideas as possible in my next game. But for this game, I'm only following the rules listed here. Hello again. I thought it might be nostalgic for some of you guys if I just stayed quiet during that opening scene, so that's what I decided to do. This is my first time I've ever played Gold. I've played a lot of Pokemon games in my lifetime, but the furthest I went back was Platinum because that was the game I played as a child. And so, yeah, it's pretty cool and very interesting game. But, Pokemon is usually like all the same objectives, so I decided, I should make it more fun by just giving myself a challenge. And that's pretty much what I did by just getting the wheels and ironically enough, landing on Pikachu, which is basically the mascot, obviously. So, I thought that was pretty cool and pretty fitting for my first attempt at this challenge. Like I said, if you have any other suggestions on how to make this challenge more challenging or just fun, please leave them in the comments below. I'm always taking suggestions. Overall, this beginning is about the same as every other one. Pretty boring. I just picked the generic name because I didn't feel creative enough to come up with one myself. But, they all start about the same. Nothing too incredibly interesting going on at the moment. But, start in the upstairs, talk to your mom. Overall, Gold's a very interesting game, just for the fact that it has 16 gyms and basically 2 champions besides the normal 8-4-1 format. And that's because you're able to go back to Kanto. So you can all fight those guys, and then you get to fight red as your final battle, which honestly is pretty cool that you're able to do that. I wish they'd do that more in some of these more recent games, but you know, I guess it's a relic of the past. But overall, yeah, game starts out about the same as it has for what, 30 years now. So yeah, I thought it was very interesting that they had a phone in this game because it's it seems like it would be before kind of that big craze, but honestly kind of cool. I dig it. But well, yeah, I think it's pretty good. So starting off here, I just decided to change the text speed because this is going to be a long challenge, obviously with 16 gyms, which I didn't anticipate going into this game, but there are 16 gyms and it could get very slow if I don't change the text speed. And then also change the battle style to set because overall, yeah, it's just better. It makes things go quicker. I left the battle scenes on because I think it's kind of interesting to look past and see how kind of those moves evolve. If we start talking to Elm, and it's very weird that this game starts with you going to talk to someone named Mr. Pokemon. I mean, I've never really heard of that in any other game, so I think it's kind of funny that there's this Mr. Pokemon guy that's just in this game. Yeah. Yeah. I was able to get Pikachu as a starter, so I wouldn't have to go through this game and kind of cheat through the challenge by just going through with a normal starter until you're able to catch one. So it's pretty cool, able to get the Pikachu as a starter. And it's been a long time trying to come up with a name for this Pikachu. Like I said, not very clever or creative. So I basically just ended up with the name of Bart, like Bart Simpson, Not incredibly creative, but it's a name. It's certainly a name. But yeah, like I said, this is the first time I've ever played this game. So there's going to be a lot of speeding up during this entire process just because I was wandering around aimlessly, not really knowing where I was going. So that's just one of the products of just, I feel like of the time. I've played a lot of Legend of Zelda games where they don't really give you a whole lot of information of where you're supposed to head, especially in the first Zelda game. That's a rough one to get through. But yeah. Here's the big thing. I went and talked to some random people in the house because I was like trying to go somewhere. And then honestly, for the first part of this game, it's very easy. You get Pidgeys and Rattatas in this first kind of section of the game. And obviously Pidgey's super effective. Like super affected by Thunderbolt, so those are like really easy to get through, and it's actually really good that Pikachu has Thunderbolt to start in this game. It makes it very overpowered, honestly. Yeah, so you get the old guy telling you about everything, like the Pokemon Center and the Pokemart, but we don't really use the Pokemart that incredibly much in this run because we're not catching anybody, but besides potions, I won't really need to. But this game's actually pretty fair and not really incredibly awful towards electric type Pokemon. I feel like it's honestly probably one of the more easier games because you really don't have to, at least for like, I wouldn't say it's like an incredibly easy game, but it's easier for an electric type because you don't really have to deal with any ground types or anything until much later on. Besides this cave, there's a cave that you have to go through as well. But yeah, make my way to Mr. Pokemon. It's just very, very strange that this exists. I have never experienced something like this. He gives you a mystery egg. Obviously, I won't really need that mystery egg because I can't use it. And overall, I think it's a pretty optional thing to even go through. I don't believe you really have to do anything with the mystery egg. Besides maybe, I mean, Elm calls you and then Oak. Also found it very interesting that Elm is the guy that gives you the Pokemon and Oak's kind of sitting here because it's like you open up the game with Oak, but then Elm's your your main man. I don't really get it. It's very interesting. But yeah, there's nothing really too incredibly interesting going on with the story at this point. It's kind of just your normal, oh, you got Pokemon and they're your friends. You need to catch them. Here's a Pokédex you need to follow. It's kind of your run of the mill Pokemon game. If you've ever played one, it's basically all the same. But also, another thing, there's not much of a Team Rocket in this game either. There is Team Rocket, but they don't have like a huge leader you have to follow because of something with Giovanni. I didn't play the games before this, so I'm not entirely sure what they're talking about. So I can't really help you with that. But overall, this game's just very interesting and honestly would feel pretty nostalgic if I were born during this time and played it. But, you know, and also this, the rival having no name and he's this tough guy too. That's like something you wouldn't really see as much in this game, as your rival's kind of just like your buddy that just kind of follows you around. This guy's just trying to pr- prove you up. And one of the things that what I left out with is I picked Pikachu to replace Cyndaquil, so he ended up picking Totodile. And obviously, Pikachu is incredibly effective towards Totodile. So that is all the rival battles really aren't that interesting because of that. His main Pokemon's very affected by my Pikachu. But good old Bart is a beautiful, beautiful Pokemon. Yeah. Gotta walk back, talk to Elm, get this whole thing started. Do a double take because once again, I'm really not entirely sure where I'm headed. It's fine. I feel like I'm not amazing at games or really following where I'm supposed to go, but you know, it's fine. I get through. Also, yeah, the very interesting thing about how he steals a Pokemon instead of like just getting one. They're more creative back then when with the rivals because, like I said, Platinum, the first one I ever played, it's like he's your buddy. But yeah, I just named the rival Bobby. Not incredibly creative, but you know, it'll be a great rivalry with Mr. Bobby. But yeah, just think, kind of the creativity of the rival. I've never seen anything like it besides in this game. But yeah, pretty cool stuff. Like I said, it's kind of weird that there's two professors in this one, but I feel like there's like cameos from other ones in other games. You just don't really have to talk to them in the other games, but it's pretty good. My favorite game is probably Platinum because I grew up on it, and it's probably my favorite gen. Big Chimchar guy. But yeah, I feel like this is the only time like one of the professor's assistants is really that involved too. I mean, he's not involved that much, but he's still semi-involved in the game. Yeah, here I go again, back down to a house, looking for my mom. Finally get there. And yep, leaving on the adventure. So also, yeah, that's saving money. This game is just very interesting compared to the other one because I don't think the mom takes your money at any other points in any other games that I've played. Maybe in the first one, like I said, I'm not sure, but it's just a very interesting thing. And this guy tells you how to catch Pokemon. I didn't really know if this was required or not, so I just clicked yes, even though we won't be using it at all, besides like HM mules, because this game would not be possible without the HM mules. They are incredibly important in this game. Like, if you didn't get, I think Pikachu can learn like Flash and so there's another one, but it can only learn two of them, and so it would be impossible to actually get through unless there's some way I'm not thinking, but it would be impossible. But yeah, sped up this part. It's just me killing more Pokemon. Went to the daycare, or not the daycare, the Pokemon Center. Just me massacring all these Pokemon because it's pretty effective in the first round, but that's on Metapod. And then I went to Mr. Pokemon because I knew. And then I finally found my way with all these trainers. Most of these, actually, none of these battles were close at all. So it's pretty simple first few routes to get through. And then I ended up taking a break. I think I had to go somewhere. So we ended up taking a bit of a break. That's why it turned to night so quickly. And then I finally get to the next city. And now we enter the Violet City Gym, which we can finally do some analysis of what we are dealing with. Overall, Violet City Gym's probably the best choice we could have for having Pikachu as our starter. We start off with the first trainer being Birdkeeper Abe. He has a Spearow that's a level 9, which is just insanely easy for our Pikachu. And then you go to Birdkeeper Rod, who has 2 level 7 Pidgeys. Once again, Flying type is super affected by Electric type. And then Faulkner, the first gym leader, has a level 7 Pidgey and level 9 Pidgeotto. So we basically just get through this gym through using Thunderbolt, and we just get our first badge extremely easily. So, yep, we start with Abe, sends out his level 9 Spearow. We just go Thunder Shock, and Bart does over half damage. Level 9 at this point. So, right at the gym levels. like the max. But he two-shots Spearow, and that's pretty easy. Almost levels up to level 10 after that first fight. $216. And like sharing with your mom. Like I said, that's weird because I've never dealt with something like that in the actual games. But I'm pretty sure you could turn it off. You said you didn't have to. But then, yep, we head to our next bird keeper, which is Rod. It's 2 level 7 Pidgeys. Once again, Thundershock just absolutely obliterates this gym. Couldn't ask for a better gym to start with. And more favorable, so we almost one-shot the first Pidgey. And actually that's 5 on that tackle, but we just Thundershock again. We're done with 1. Crits. Didn't need it, but level 10 Bart. And then we head off to the second Pidgey here, which is Thundershock. Actually gets a crit, so don't even have to deal with that any further. And then we head over to first gym badge of leader Faulkner. Yeah, whatever. The end. So level 7 Pidgey's what he starts out with, and then he goes into a level 9 Pidgeotto. So it's like no sweat going into this gym. And again, we just one-shot a Pidgey earlier. And so we just use Thundershock once again. This time it does one-shot because he's a level 10 now. Then we go to Pidgeotto, which, once again, flying type, not going to be much of an issue for us, as we do over half. And he does get a hit off, which does a decent bit of damage, but with our berry we put on him before the fight, we just gain all of it back, and first gym is a lock. So, not really a tough one. Bart grows to level 11, and he starts to learn a very important move, which is Quick Attack. Once again, Pikachu doesn't really learn a huge amount of moves that are really helpful in attacking or like avoiding, so this is a big one for us. We get the Zephyr badge, which is pretty cool. Most of the badges now named in these games out aren't as interesting as some of these other ones. So, in this game, so the Zephyr badge, get TM31, which would be, I forgot, it is Mud Slap. Can't use it. It's kind of weird that he's giving out Mud Slap. He's a flying type gym. But yeah, we leave this gym and we're going to stop the video here because we are through the beginning stages in the gym. And Professor Elm calls us, talks about the egg. Once again, this is kind of an optional thing to do. So we just do it with the then. So yeah, thanks for watching, and next time I guarantee it'll be way more interesting when we actually have some more strategy and stuff put into it. With the beginning stages, first gym, really easy for Pikachu. So see you next time.